You're on the line with Hit the Ropes Radio. Who are we speaking with?
Talking to me?
I am.
This is Spike.
What's going on, Spike? How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Oh, we're doing good. It's Darius, and we also have Shane on the line, and we were just throwing out some what-if, could-if in the world of wrestling.
Well, there's a lot of possibility with that.
Thanks for joining us today. Should we call you Mad Miss Hyson or Spike fine?
Spike is fine.
Okay. Didn't know if you were, done with that name for good.
No. That's kind of part of me forever.
All right. Well, what have you been up to? You're training up at your school, right? That's what you've been doing lately?
Yep. Training, still wrestling. Just doing a little bit of everything right now. Do a little bartending on the side to stay busy. And aside from that, just getting through life.
Well, here. So what's it like to be on the training side as opposed to going out there to sold out crowds?
Well, I get a kick out of training. To me, it's a lot of fun to kind of pass on whatever I've learned to younger guys. But I found it's a whole new generation of wrestling, and what the kids grow up on today is very different from what I grew up on. And I think there's a bit of today's wrestling that is really missing the improv spontaneity of what, the magic of pro wrestling, because what they see on TV is so choreographed and so scripted and so, it's performed to the wall versus being felt and created. And I think that today's kids come in expecting to just go out there and learn a bunch of moves, memorize their spots. As long as they hit all of the moves, they should have a long, successful career. And that's, to me, isn't what really separates the great wrestlers from the mediocre wrestlers. I always thought that wrestling is a improv, spontaneous art form where you're reacting, feeling with the audience, as well as getting in there and mixing it up with your opponents. That kind of magical combination of all three that makes wrestling wrestling. And I think by making everything so choreographed and scripted, it takes away from the art form. So I try to break down the kids. React. Don't, feel, react, sense what's going on. Don't just memorize your match. Work your match.
How often do fans have an influence, whether they cheer a spot or they're dead? How often does that influence what you do in the ring?
I'm sorry, I missed your question. How often does the spots influence the match?
No, how often do the fans, you said you have to, have a feeling and see how things are going. How often do the fans, whether they cheer a spot or they don't react at all, how often does that influence where you go with the match?
Well, for me, I always take the approach that I dictate to the audience what they feel and what they sense. Nothing kills me more than when a heel wrestler gets babyface pops because they're doing cool moves. And I'm not saying that a heel can't do a cool move, but they got to know how to do it, use it to get heat, not just doing it for the sake of doing it. And I find that today's wrestlers, if they get a boring chant, let's go do a triple Indy moonsault because they're booing, and to me that's the fans dictating to the wrestlers, and that's not, if I'm a fan, I want to go out there and be entertained. I don't want to be telling the wrestler what to do. I want the wrestler to surprise me and to, pull out whatever it is, something unexpected. I'm not even talking about moves, just the way they carry through a match. So, I find it really frustrating to see, two guys working a match and they're not getting the response that they had written down in the locker room, so they start throwing out crazy moves just to get a reaction. And the reaction of, oh, that's a cool move, is not the same reaction as, oh, we really hate that guy, or oh, we really love that guy. One is just a reaction to an interesting athletic move. Another is an emotional response, an emotional connection with the audience. And that's the difference. People really hated The Rock or loved The Rock. You were talking about him earlier. They really loved, Austin. They really hated him. The great wrestlers get emotional responses, not just reactions to moves. Does that answer the question? I kind of babbled a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
I mean, doesn't it seem? It seems to me like when I see some, on YouTube indie tapes now, it's all spots. You're looking for, the 360 or 450 off the top, and then you toss them out to the ring so you can go and do some kind of plancha over the rope. It just seems crazy at some point.
Well, I kind of agree with you, and I mean, it just goes back to that. You don't want the match to be silent for 80% of it, and then they one move and yay, and then they go back down to being silent. That's really, and what it comes down to is with the downfall of territories and places for people to learn the craft. Back in the day, in the 70s, 80s, and during that time when there were territories, guys would wrestle in the same arena every week. They'd go and wrestle 7 times in 7 different towns, then return to that town. You can't just go out and do a series of moves and expect to sell tickets. And I think that's the difference with today's wrestlers. Okay, an indie guy, he's getting his first year in, and he's got a few matches. Promoter pays him whatever it is, X amount of dollars to come wrestle. He's not being asked to return and to sell tickets. Back in the day, you had to learn how to sell tickets, how to get those people involved, and come back and to either cheer you or boo you. And you couldn't rely on just your 3 moves. You had to get them interested. Today's wrestler, a young indie guy might get 1 or 2 matches a month if he's lucky, but he gets paid no matter what. It doesn't make a difference whether there's 40 people or 300 people. They're not asked to put people in the seats, and that's the downfall of territories with promoters not really knowing what they're doing, with just the nature of the business, the way it's been morphed into this television thing. And to me, that's kind of the downfall of the art that I got into it for. If I grew up today, I probably wouldn't be a pro wrestling fan.
Wow.
It's sad to say, because I really love the business.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think you would have been doing?
I don't know. Maybe I would have gotten into the UFC shoot fighting, or maybe I would have gone and got a real career and used my head or something like that. Or who knows? I honestly couldn't tell you. I never picked pro wrestling as a career. I just followed something that I loved to do, and one thing led to another, and I started making money with it. It's I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. I couldn't imagine if I was 15 and I put on Raw today that I would go, oh yeah, I've got to go to the match every month. And I don't mean to diss, the guys that are working that they're hard workers, they're good athletes and things like that. It's just a different product than what it was when I was a kid and when I first broke into it.
Right. Go ahead, Shane.
No, I was gonna say, I believe Wikipedia said that you were a 3rd grade teacher at one point.
Yeah, when I first got out of college, it was just kind of a day job. I was a teacher's aide, to be more specific. I was never a certified teacher. Kind of more of a glorified babysitter, to be honest with you. I was there. I was at elementary school for a couple of years and had some fun. It wasn't anything I was real passionate about. But as I said, it was a day job. It paid the bills, and that was when I first started wrestling. I call it my day job to support my wrestling habit. But yeah.
Oh, okay. I was asking because I'm a teacher myself, so I was just wondering.
Yeah, I come from everybody in my family are teachers. It kind of seems to run in the blood, but I never pursued certification or anything like that. So, and it's funny because I actually work with kids. I was just coming out of I work with a Parks and Rec group at junior high kids. We do a little youth center for them after school, and it's kind of funny. I don't think I could take being in a classroom with these kids. Just me.
You're not teaching them to jump off of balconies, are you?
No. Although we are taking a field trip to a show I have next month. That should be interesting.
All right. Well, talking about jumping off of balconies, one of the most memorable moments from ECW was when you crowd surf, when you were thrown over the railing. What was were you worried at all when these guys grabbed you and started throwing you around?
That was probably the scariest part of it, was when they were passing me around, because, that was South Philly, and, You know, those guys were crazy. But on the other hand, they were, in a weird way, they're the most